Cutting it close.
I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Shoalo Planning and Zoning Commission for Tuesday, September 14th, 2021. Roll call shows that all commissioners except for Commissioner Lewis are present. And with that, we'll go to the invocation, Commissioner Adams, and then Pledge of Allegiance, followed by Commissioner, Barlow, sorry.
Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for the opportunity we have to gather here on this wonderful night and be able to rub shoulders with one another. We're thankful for the opportunity we have to serve on this commission and be able to serve the citizens of the Shoalo community. We're so very grateful for the health and safety that we have, and we ask that that would bless and watch over those who are sick and afflicted, that they might be blessed, that they can recover from their illnesses, and that the rest of us might be kept out of harm's way. We're so very grateful for the citizenship and the fellowship that we have. And we also ask that thou would bless us, that we can have thy spirit with us. We could do the things that would be beneficial to our community. We're so very grateful for the many blessings we have. And we say things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda is old business, and we have none, so we'll move to new business. The first item is 6A, which is the election of officers. So since we had, do you want to explain what's going on? Okay, since we had the chair actually resigned and left, I had temporarily gone into the position, so we need to elect a chair and a vice chair for the commission. And I think we start with the first step will be to open nominations for the chair position.
I'd like to nominate Rob as chairman.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations for chair? With that, I'll close the nominations for the chair, and we'll call for the vote for chair. So all in favor for me as chair?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So next we'll open the nominations for the vice chair position.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Adams.
Okay, and I would actually like to nominate Commissioner Barlow. Second that. So second for
Barlow, but no second time.
for Barlow.
So
Yeah, for
second actually is
Commissioner Barlow.
not needed.
Oh, second's not needed. Okay, so do we have two nominations in that lay, or do both do any other nominations? Okay, so we'll close the nominations and we'll open for do we do a hand vote for each? Okay, so a vote for Adams, 2, and a vote for Barlow. Okay, so it's Barlow as vice.
Okay, so what we'd like to do right now is just take a minute and shuffle a couple seats. Gentry will move you over and Zach will move you over. And then we'll go ahead and move on to item 6B.
Okay, moving on to item 6B, which is a conditional use permit submitted by Camptown Mobile Home Park to allow for the expansion of a manufactured home and RV park on property located at 1251 West McNeil, that being APN 210-08-031B. I'll have Mrs. Fector-Carter take us through the details.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. The Planning and Zoning Commission had previously approved a conditional use permit, or CUP, 602-04179 on February 10th, 2015, to allow an 18 space manufactured home park and park models at the subject property. Since the project was not started within 12 months or completed within 18 months, the CUP expired. Applicant is now requesting the ability to place 22 park models on the property instead of the previously approved 18 units. The lots have been reduced in size to fit additional park models, which may affect the ability to place manufactured homes due to the size of setback requirements. The applicant is responsible for complying with all city code roadway requirements for manufactured home and RV parks. City staff and the property owner are working on an equitable solution for a sewer easement. Current zoning of the surrounding properties include: to the north, R1-7, which is single-family residential, 7,000 square feet. To the south, MH, which is manufactured housing. To the east, R2-7, which is single and multifamily residential, 7,000 square feet. And to the west, MH, manufactured housing. The current land uses of the surrounding properties includes: to the north, Fox Canyon subdivision. To the south, residential. To the east, the Ponderosa Park Apartments, and to the west, Camptown Mobile Home Park. Transmittal memos were sent to all affected agencies, and no applicable comments were received. The property has been posted, and letters were sent to all property owners within 300 feet of the subject property, and no applicable comments were received at the time the staff report was prepared. After reviewing the standards for review, the zoning ordinance, discussions with the applicant, and because the request is consistent with the City of Shoalo general plan, staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission approve Conditional Use Permit 602-04234 of Camptown Mobile Home Park to allow for the expansion of a manufactured home and RV park on property located at 1251 West McNeil, that being APN 210-08031D, subject to the following conditions. 1, all development should comply with all applicable federal, state, and local requirements, including planning and zoning, building department, fire district, and public works requirements. And 2, the development shall be in substantial conformance with the submitted site plan, including a 20-foot setback from boundary properties and privacy fencing consisting of a 6-foot solid wood fence or similar along the south and east property lines. Staff, as well as the applicant, are available for questions.
Open it to anybody. Have any questions here in the commission for staff?
Have there been any changes to city codes or ordinances since the last approval that would be applicable to this specific CUP?
Do not believe there has.
Were there any conditions that were applied last time this was approved?
Yes, there was. There was a condition regarding the dedication of a sewer easement.
And has that been,
I understand that they're currently working on it. I do know they had a meeting this afternoon, but I was not able to attend that meeting.
I would add to that, I was in the meeting. We have agreed to an easement in form. We're still finalizing the specific details for our attorney to write into a formal agreement for both parties to sign.
Do I understand it correctly that it was 18, either was it manufactured or RVs previously, and now it will just be RVs?
I think it would.
Or mobile, sorry,
Yeah,
not RVs.
yeah.
And that's what what I wanted to get to was would you explain the difference between
Sure.
that?
Absolutely. So a manufactured home is a home that is built to the HUD standard. They're inspected through the state, and they do require a building permit. An RV is considered to be under 399 square feet. So park models do fall under the RV codes. They're not built the same way as manufactured homes are.
Okay, thank
you.
Are park models considered RVs?
Yes.
Any other questions for staff?
Are these units going to get like decks and sunrooms and all that put on them?
That would probably be a good question for the applicant.
Any further questions for staff? Okay, with that, we'll have we have a question for applicant. So the applicant would come forward. Please state your name and address.
My name is Jerry Cooley, and I'm at 1221 West McNeil in Shiloh. And as far as decks and additions to it, it kind of depends on the people, but usually they're no longer, you have probably, I don't know, I would say 8 foot by maybe 10 feet when they walk in and they go into the house. Usually there's a deck there. But that's usually about it. That's all we see as far as for this part.
You planning on having these? They're not going to be able to own the space underneath it. It's just going to be the unit.
Yeah, I've already purchased the units. Half of the units are down in Yuma, ready to come up. So I'll bring them up and put them on the sites, and go ahead and put the awnings, skirtings, and deck, and then they'll be sold.
But when you sell them, you'll be selling the unit, not not the lot.
Ground lease.
Okay, just
And so you're not planning on having these be transient? They're not going to come in and go out, come in and go out?
No, it's not an RV. It's more, it's a mobile home park in which we go ahead and set them up. They're set on the lot for permanent use. I mean, we have some on there that are in the 60s, and we've remodeled them completely. So, all the way down from, the only thing that's left on them, I think, is the metal.
So do they meet, are there any age requirements that they need to conform to before you put them on there?
Well, the ones that are coming on there, right now, we're trying to have them in the 90s, the late 90s, 2000s. Majority of them are 2000. So they're a lot newer than the ones that we've got in the park existing now.
These are just 400 square foot unit.
Yeah, basically that's what they are. Park model is that. It's just more permanent. It's not, the park is not one that is transient where people are coming and going.
It's a year-round park, right?
Yes, it is. And right now we're complete, 100% occupied, and we have been for some time. And we've got a waiting list of people trying to get in because it's really sad. It conforms. It's a perfect business model for the senior citizens, but it's also perfect for the young, couples that are just starting, trying to get into so I'm not sure what's going to happen as far as this, these 22 units, but there's a lot of people that have some need for them.
so that's Commissioner, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna hit notes. Sorry, Commissioner Hildart.
So in your application, you indicated that you were going to be providing senior housing. So then that would indicate like an age requirement of 55 plus, but now you're saying that you're going to open it to mix.
No, I'm just saying that it's the business model. It'd be nice if somebody else would pick up the younger ones, but no, the business model works on both sides. So we get a lot of people that are young that are trying to, just get started, and they call all the time. But no, it'd be at 55. There's some ages where we have there's a lot of people that are over 65 that are taking care of grandkids and people that are in their 30s, which is, it's a huge population of people. And we have to turn them away because they're not 55 and up. But so this might have a little bit of variance to try to, have the 55 and up status, but also, conform to some of the needs of a lot of people.
So these 20,
So, Commissioner, if you would just wait, please, so we can just for recording purposes. So, go ahead, Commissioner Roberts.
so these 22 units are going to fall under the 55 plus zoning? And now my understanding is that even under 55 plus zoning, there is some allowance for a small percentage of younger, like you said, grandchildren and maybe children or special needs children of those 55 older people. Or the 55 and older people need somebody younger there to take care of them.
All of those conditions are correct. That's what's taking place now. We have people that are caregivers that are younger in their 20s that are taking care of older people that are in their 80s. And because of the current status, caregivers, there's no conditions, they come in and they stay with them. So whether it's family or, friends, they need the help and they need the support. So you support that.
Go ahead, keep going.
Do you anticipate that this will help alleviate some of the need for low-cost housing for younger employees that would be able to work at some of the businesses in town that need employees that can't get them because there's a lack of affordable housing for them?
Well, most of the park is your labor force in Show Low. Most of the park that we have right now. You'll see on that application, you'll see all the list of, the tellers, the waitresses, the security guards, teachers, the nurses. I mean, we're there 24/7 and, we're year round and it works. And the majority, we have a small population that is actually retired, but most of them are still working. So you'll see them all throughout, the city of Show Low. Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart. It's your labor force for the city.
Any more questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you, ma'am, for your time. Appreciate that. We are allowed to have public comment, so if there's any member of the public that would make a comment regarding this conditional use permit, you can approach a podium and please state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Robert Pendergast. I live at 51 North Canyon Loop here in Show Low. I received this letter in the mail addressed to the property off of McNeil. My concern is the lack of traffic studies. McNeil is a funnel through the community. We have high density housing all up and down McNeil, and it becomes a racetrack during given parts of the day. So McNeil is a very narrow road and hard to navigate in places. Also, this RV park, trailer park, is going to funnel all their property, all their ingress, egress, right to my back door, all hours of the day and night. So with the heavy traffic that we already have, it's just going to add 42 more vehicles. So I'm definitely opposed to this. Members of my community have voiced their opinion. They don't want it to happen. So I'm just here speaking on people's behalf. So that's pretty much all I have.
Is there anyone else that would like to? If you would, just please state your name and that.
Eric Campbell. I live at 61 North Canyon Loop, neighbors with Robert. And like he said, there's some concerns about traffic issues. That's one of them. That is our back door. That's our backyard. Whoever walks by the wall behind our yard, I don't know who put it up. If it's part of the city or it's part of us. It's not tall enough to anybody who walks by can see. So whether that's on us or on the city, I don't know who put it up. But there's privacy issues, there's traffic issues. Like Robert said, our street, for some odd reason, is highly trafficked, especially in the cul-de-sac that we live in. And right behind us is the park that you're talking about putting in. And I don't know why everyone comes in to our cul-de-sac all during hours of the day and night, but they do. Like, Neil is very highly trafficked. Whether they're turning around, they're lost. It is what it is. And maybe it's the entrance right next, our entrance to our neighborhood is literally across the entrance from the park. So maybe that has something to do with it or not. But that road is not conducive to high traffic. There's no speed limit signs. There's barely any sidewalks in one of the more busy parts of the area. And yeah, it's just not a very good place to put high volume areas. Another concern I have is I'm all for providing homing for housing for those who need it. It's needed, but the issue is all these people come in, and we found it very hard ourselves when we moved here, is that low income housing or affordable housing is just not available. You either have to get very, very lucky, or you have to, well, you have to build your own place, probably out in the sticks somewhere that you don't have to deal with usual issues. We got very lucky. We found a nice place. But what we've noticed when we got here is that with everybody coming in, more and more people, is that the resources to provide for that are not here. Lots and lots of housing going up, usually a little more expensive than what most people can afford. But the infrastructure to provide for that is just not here. There's a lack of goods, lack of stores. It's a small town, I'm fine with that. But the necessities are sometimes just not here. You go to the Walmart over in Pine Top or Lakeside, I'm not sure which is which. It all integrates over there. But it's very, very cleared out. And we usually find ourselves traveling to Snowflake to go buy groceries just because, well, they have it. It's, in my mind, bringing a lot more individuals to an area that's very nice. It's also a very resorty town from what we hear. A lot of people like to come up here during the summer, escape the heat. I would be one of them if I wasn't here already. But having all of that there and not being able to provide for those, it just seems wrong. It seems mean, just a little bit. And that's just my opinion, my concern, to put in more available housing that people do need, but not being able to provide the necessities and the materials to actually live a good life. So that's just one other concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Is there anyone else who would like to? I think we got one other. You would please state your name and your address.
All right. Hey, how y'all doing? My name is Ben Matthews. I live on 200 Fox Run in Fox Canyon. And, well, like Robert said, hey, Robert, there's quite a few concerned neighbors in our subdivision here. Part of it is traffic, definitely. I live on Fox Run, so it's a cut through to Old Linden Road. So people drive pretty fast and it's pretty heavily trafficked. But one of my main concerns is, well, something in the vision statement here for the city of Show Low. I'm going to quote just one little part of it. It says, small town, family-oriented values emphasize a strong sense of community and the characteristic of the city as a hub of the White Mountain region, right? So, small town, family-oriented value. Well, Fox Canyon's very family-oriented. You guys ever been down Fox Canyon? You know there's always kids playing in the street. My kids are some of them. And that's something that we want to cherish. I think adding more mobile homes in that area, in the heart of Show Low, I think that detracts from that. I really do. And I'm also a little concerned about property values. Robert takes great care of his place. He's got a great lawn, probably one of the best in the neighborhood, I'd say. We do a lot to try to make our neighborhood nice. And as nice as Camptown is, it's still a mobile home park. And it's just something that we don't really see as a value to the community here. And that's all I got. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. I got one more gentleman. And once again, please state your name and your address.
Thank you very much. My name is Bill Matthews. I live at 161 North Fox Canyon. I just moved here a little while ago. I had a house built. And one of the attractions is that I get to see my grandkids every day. But I bought that house because of the zoning that was around there. This piece of property was zoned for single family homes and that not mobile home parks. And I was attracted to the neighborhood because the surrounding areas were for families. And this is what I bargained for when I came here. Yes, there's an existing mobile home park that's there. But to and I agree with the traffic on McNeil. It's a bad road to begin with. And if you add all these cars coming in, that's going to be a problem. But I have a problem with the testimony of the applicant. She says on one hand that it's going to be a senior. Uh, then she says it's for low income people. And then she says that it's going to be parks and trailers and not transients. Then she says people are going to be coming and going because of some things. It's not consistent. What you're going to have there is a motley collection of some park models, which I have some past history, and I'm a builder by trade, and I've done lots of things with manufactured homes. But there's also going to be trailers in there. It's a motley collection of housing that's going to be in there, and it's not going to be very well controlled. The application says that it can be any variety of things that go in there. And I don't feel that that's conducive to the neighborhood of which I'm adjacent to. And I have some problems with that. And I think some of the questions that you have of her, it was inconsistent testimony. On the one hand, it's a senior citizen thing over 55. On the other hand, it's for low income people that work at Walmart. On the other hand, it's kids that are being um, in there because their grandparents are taking care of them, or it's going to be a single family starter home. Um, I think you need to challenge this. To make a zoning change is significant. It's not something that should be lightly uh, uh, taken. This is a significant change to our neighborhood in that area on Neal Street. And I would like you to review what even the staff recommendation was and question maybe more thoroughly what's going on here. Thank you very much. Any question?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
I think the applicant wanted to respond to some of those statements. Yes?
Sorry if I was so confusing. It wasn't meant to be. First of all, the park is very, very quiet. I mean, the majority of people that we have in there, the seniors, 7, 8 o'clock, they're asleep. That's it. You might see a TV on, but it's quiet. You can walk through the whole place and you can hear the noise going on at the community park with the kids' games and stuff like that going on. Another thing is probably 35% of what the population that we have right now in the park, they do not drive. You know, there's no added, you're not adding any more traffic with 22 more units. You know, even if all of them had, but the majority of people we have, they use the bus system that's right out in front of the park. So there's no real added and the majority of them, the way it's set up, there's one street that's going off of into McNeil. It's kind of, well, you can see it. It goes from McNeil and then it curves down and comes through the park. The majority of people are going to be going through the park. They're not going to be going on McNeil because they have things to do within the park. So I don't think that it's, you know, it's an issue. We have an issue with Fox Canyon because there's a lot of people that rent homes in there and there's a lot of noise and a lot of cars and they're going at all times of the day and night. but that's their privilege, that's their area. But the park is not. And as far as what is going into these units, it is not going to be anything that is removed. They are all park models. They're not odds and ends or anything else. They're all specifically the same type. They've already been purchased, and they're all park models. So it's not going to be something that is a trailer that you hook up and you move out. They'll be put in there permanently, and that's it. So, and the seniors, he was talking, I don't know, he was talking about something that is going to be seniors and all age. No, caregivers, we don't have a whole lot of control over. The government decides who's a caregiver and who can provide for somebody else's care. If they say they're a caregiver, we have to allow them to, move in and take care of that person. We don't have a whole lot of choice on that. So the age on that, they're eliminated from that age group. But everybody else that is in there are the seniors, 55 and up. And as far as working for the city, if you don't realize, a lot of your seniors are working, and we've got 55 and up, and we've got a lot of them that are 75, and they're all out there working. So just because they're working, it doesn't mean that it's, under 55. They are 55 to 75 is the majority of the people that are all out there working. But I don't feel it is a negative impact at all for the city. It's actually bringing more people. We have a waiting list of people that qualify, have already qualified, to come in. And I think now every day we get at least 5 or 6 calls. A lot of them we have to turn away because we already have a list of, I think there's probably about 65 that are already approved and they can all come in. So, other places need to probably provide some of this too, but we can only take the 22. But it's not, it's going to be the way everything is set up and the way I've worked with the city. There's an area of it that is a community garden, and that's for everybody, and that's for both sides of the park to, participate in. I think it's 5,000 square feet. And there's another section of it that is just open for walkways and, plants and materials and stuff. So I disagree with it being a negative in any way. But do any of you have any questions with what you've already heard? Is there any questions that you have as far as the park?
Yeah, go ahead.
As far as the 55 plus age limit, is that something you have imposed on your park, and would you be allowed to change that at any point, or is that built into the conditional use?
I don't think it's conditional use permit. It's when I bought the park, it already had that designation, and that's the way the people that are in that. If I changed it to make it so that children can come in there, you would lose most of the people that are in there because they're there because they're elderly and they don't want to be run over by bicycles or kids' balls knocking them over that they end up in the hospital, and they have problems. So it's there because that's what the community wants and needs.
Thank you.
Any further questions for the applicant? Thank you, ma'am.
I have one more question for staff.
Okay, hang on just a second. Was there any additional questions from public? Okay. Give you opportunity if they do have that come up. Okay. So let's bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Roberts has a question for staff.
We're not changing the zoning on this property at all, correct?
That is correct. Property is currently zoned MH, which is a manufactured home zoning district.
We're simply putting this into changing the allowance of the number of units that will go in there. And when we do that, that also changes the maximum size of those units that can go in there.
So under the MH zoning or any zoning district, you really have 3 different categories for land use. You have a straight up permitted use, right? An example for that would be the property owners who are directly across the street. There's a subdivision that's there. They're required to have 7,000 square foot lot. You come in, you get your building permit, you build your house, as long as you meet all the required setbacks and building code. There's no special meetings required. Then we have things which are just flat out, you just can't do it. The example that I use quite often is you just can't put a nuclear waste facility in the city of Show Low. It's prohibited. We're not going to let you do it. Then you have what's called a conditional use. Conditional use is something that requires a higher level of review. It comes to the Planning and Zoning Commission for review. Planning and Zoning Commission can either just flat out approve it, they can flat out deny it, or they can approve it with conditions if those conditions they feel are necessary to help it be more compatible with the neighborhood. If they're going to deny it, or if the commission is going to deny it, there are some very specific criteria that application has to meet, and the Planning and Zoning Commission has to find that it meets that specific criteria. In this case, the use of this property for the RV park falls under the conditional use permit requirement. That's why we're here this evening.
And we term it an RV park because it's park models.
Right. So as previously discussed, there's a lot of terms that get used interchangeably that really mean different things. A manufactured home and a mobile home are not the same thing. A mobile home has a very specific designation. It's a housing unit that was constructed prior to 1976. It's pre-HUD. A manufactured home, on the other hand, is built after 1976, and it meets the HUD requirements. Sometimes you'll hear the term trailer used. You'll hear trailer, manufactured home, and mobile home, all used in the same paragraph to describe the exact same structure. A trailer would be what we would refer to as like a camp trailer. Again, a very specific designation. In the case of a park model, those do not meet HUD standards. They're not constructed to HUD standards. Those are considered the same as an RV as far as legal designations go. They're titled like a vehicle is. I think the original intent was you could pull them behind a truck, but they don't. They're typically put on the property and they remain on the property for an extended period of time. In this case, because of the size of the lot, park models are going to be what we predominantly see there. There may be an option on a lot or two in here for a manufactured home, but it would have to be a very small one just to be able to meet the setback requirements. So what we're discussing this evening is primarily and predominantly the use of this property for the legal term is an RV park, because a park model and an RV are classified the same under a legal definition.
So technically, if someone buys one of these park models from the seller, from the developer, they have the option later on to move it and replace it with an RV type unit if they want to.
So if I come in and I purchase the park model, I own that just like I own my Chevy pickup truck, right? If at some future date I decide that I want to move that off the property, they certainly can. Whatever comes back onto the property, again, would have to meet the same setbacks and all of that goes along with that. What we typically see in this type of situation is once the park model is there and it's established, especially once you start adding on decks and porches, the park model does not move. If I'm going to get rid of it, I sell it to somebody else who then comes in and rents the space just as I was previously.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. Mr. Barlow, do you have a question, or did you get?
I do have a
Okay.
question for
Go ahead.
staff.
Yes.
So I'm looking at the site plan here, and it's not labeled, but am I correct that there's a water line easement that goes through this property? Because there's a city water main that goes through the property currently.
Correct.
And given what I assume is the location of the easement, again, it's not labeled on here, but kind of going through the front part of lots 16 through 22, it looks like that could limit the buildable envelope of those lots if they're not allowed to be built inside of that, if they wouldn't be allowed to be built inside of that easement, especially with the 20-foot setback on the back side. Did staff look into that issue?
Yeah, we've reviewed the easement, the water line. The applicant actually dedicated us an easement for the water line. We did work with her on the location of that, somewhere where it was, I guess, most prudent for her location and placement of these. I don't know specifically where that was. That was done with our Public Works Department, but I do know that we did coordinate with her on that location. And I don't know if it runs directly down that road that's shown or if it runs on the back side of the property line.
Please come on up and.
It's in McNeil,
No, I think it's in her driveway.
Hang on.
in the middle of the road.
Sorry, my voice is going now. The easement is right in, we put it inside the road. So the road is 24 feet, and the easement, I think, is 16 feet. So it's inside it, so it works with the park, and it doesn't involve the lot of the trailers.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I should have said vice chair Barlow, not commissioner.
Office land.
Anybody else have any other questions for staff? So I've got one final, so manufactured home wise, how many lots would have this, or we have no idea because somebody would have to submit a plan or?
So the original approval that was granted previously by the Planning and Zoning Commission for this property was for 18 lots.
Okay.
Several of those lots were substantially larger, which would have allowed the placement of manufactured homes. That was primarily along the east side of the property boundary, adjacent to the apartments that are there. And rather than do that, they went ahead and reduced those lot sizes down to what would fit a park model
Okay.
on the property.
So this was previously approved for 18 people and possible multiple drivers within a family and things like
Right.
that.
So what we've got here, this is the proposed site plan. This is included in your packet. This is what was previously approved on the site plan. Again, you can see there was an access onto McNeil. You can see there were some larger lots along this is turned sideways. So where I'm pointing at with the arrow, that's the north side of the property. So that would be the McNeil property line. So you can see they were proposing 3 full-size lots along McNeil. They've now replaced that with a total of 5 park model lots. And then along what would be the apartment side, they were proposing 4 large lots there, and they are reducing those down now to park models and putting in 7 lots as opposed to the 4 that was originally proposed.
And those were apartments?
The apartments are already in place over
Okay.
on just east of the property. So where you see this on the previous plan where it says site plan, that would be where the apartment property is. And I'll go back to the aerial so that we can see that. So again, these are the apartments that are there on McNeil. This is the subject property that is being proposed. And then you can see the remainder of the Camptown project there to the west.
One more question.
Yeah, Commissioner Roberts?
So on the proposed plan, there will not be an ingress or egress, or there will to McNeil?
So under the proposed plan, the units themselves will not have direct access onto McNeil. That is something that we would have to approve through our Public Works Department and the right-of-way permit. We would just not approve that. We don't want cars having their own private driveways and backing in and backing out onto McNeil. One of the proposed access points is directly to the east of lot number 1, between lot 1 and lot 22. They also have an access point that goes into the existing Camptown project.
So this will provide one additional ingress egress point.
So total additional ingress from Camptown, yes, this would add one additional ingress egress onto West McNeil.
Can you, again, remind us what the 2015 stipulation was for the original 18 approval of the CUP? So it had to do with the sewer line, is what I recall.
Right, so at the time, we were working with the property owner. Let me go back to the larger aerial. So in the existing Camptown property, which is largely concealed by this label that says subject property, and I can't move it, I'm sorry. There is an existing sewer line that runs through this property. It's actually probably one of the very first sewer lines we put in the city. Been there since the 50s. As you can imagine, it's pretty old at this point. We need to replace that line. And so the existing line actually runs underneath several of these manufactured homes, RVs, park models, whatever it is we want to call these that are already in there, is actually over the top of our sewer line. And so we are working with the property owner to delineate a new location for our new sewer line, which feeds not only the subdivision directly to the south, but also up by the park and across over into like Safeway, and it's a fairly large sewer line that actually runs to the north and ties into where Fox Canyon is. We are working with the property owner to delineate a new location that works for her, that works for us. At the time, the condition was that prior to approval of a building permit, that an easement acceptable to the property owner and to the city would be dedicated. At this point, we didn't put that in because we feel we're pretty close to having that taken care of. So that's why it didn't get included in the staff recommendations today.
Okay, very good.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Anyone else? Entertain a motion. So
I'll just read this. Okay. I move to approve CUP 602-04-234 submitted by Camptown Mobile Home Park to allow for the expansion of a manufactured home and RV park located at 1251 West McNeil, that being APN 210-08-031B, subject to staff recommendation.
motion by Vice Chair. We have a second. Second by Commissioner Adams. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We passing unanimously? I couldn't see all hands. Yes.
Okay, so just a reminder to the commission, to the applicant, and the members of the public, as with any conditional use permit, there is a 7-day appeal period. If no appeal is received by the city clerk within those 7 days, this conditional use permit will be considered effective. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move to call to the public. If there's any member of the public that would like to speak on a item that was not on our agenda, you can do so at this time. And I'll read the boilerplate if not. Yes, no? Okay. Okay, with that, I'll move to item 8, the approval of the minutes for the Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting of August 10th, 2021. I need a motion to approve. Vice Chair makes a motion. Yeah, second by Commissioner Adams. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That, any opposed? Okay, that we're approved. And with that, we'll move to item 9, summary of current events. We'll start with Commissioner Adams.
I've actually got nothing. Thanks, though.
And our new commissioner, welcome to the commission, Commissioner Hilgard.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't have anything of note other than I appreciate the opportunity to serve, and I look forward to getting to know each one of you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hatch.
Another great day in Shello.
Commissioner Roberts.
Welcome to Commissioner Hobart. And just a reminder that COVID is still fairly strong, and we need to be cautious and as safe as we can be.
And Vice Chair Marlowe, how are you?
Good. Just thankful for the opportunity to be the vice chair of this committee. So looking forward to continuing to work with you, Rob.
And I'd like to thank everyone for your the honor of working with you and being able to serve you guys, staff especially, pretty phenomenal. I want to make one note of Fishers of Men did a phenomenal display of flags for September 11th during the weekend down there at the entryway to town, and I think they should be commended for that. It was rather inspiring. It was funny because I had people contact me going, "We need to do something for veterans," and I went, "You mean like coming into town?" They're like, "Oh, I should have looked there first, huh?" Yeah. So it was really cool to see. And that, hand it over to the director.
Not a whole lot. We appreciate our new commissioner, Sue. Thanks for being with us. And look forward just to more meetings in the future. So that's it.
Cool. With that, I'll adjourn the meeting.